Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Well, we just found out that James Gunn and Peter Safran, head of DC Studios, are not going to be in charge of DC Comics. They're not messing with it. DC Comics is going to be its own thing in its own world and its own continuity, if they even have any continuity. I would have liked to have seen continuity for DC Comics be incorporated into DC Studios. If you think about it, it would mean a big reorganization of DC Comics. It would be a big job to do. The benefit of that is questionable. And what they're already tackling with trying to coordinate all the films, all the animation, any TV shows, and even games into the 10-year continuity plan, that's a big enough project. And we've talked before about this a little bit. Periodicals are very different than standalone films. The periodical comics, they have stories that are going on and on and on and on. Not a lot changes usually from issue to issue, but to work out that in a continuity and a timeline is very, very difficult because there are really just too many stories when it comes to comics. There is an article about this. Let's get into the article and see exactly what James Gunn said about it on Twitter, because he did confirm it. Before we get into the article, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up when you like it. Okay, this is coming from comicbook.com. James Gunn reveals whether he has any control over DC's comics. Well, whether or not he'd have control over the comics is a different issue. It's not even the issue of him having control. If James Gunn wanted certain things to happen in the comics, they would happen immediately. It's not an area that he's responsible for because it's beneath his concern. It's a little too small for him. He's got bigger problems to solve. That's why when we wonder, why is David Zaslav not talking about the comics? Well, comics are important, especially to us people who are into comics, but not that important in terms of the whole scale of things. I still think there's zero chance they would license these comics out. We did an article about this or video about this a month ago that DC Comics is doing a major digital push in a couple of different countries, which shows that they're going to stay invested in making comic books. But it's not a big part of their business. They do have $50 billion in debt to deal with and the whole reorganization of DC Studios. So no, comics are not that important as far as they're concerned. Okay, so someone directly tweeted at James Gunn asking, will DC Studios have any hand in the comic side of DC publishing? And James Gunn said here, very open communication. As everyone knows, I'm a huge comic fan, and I hope everything we do will lead to more people reading DC Comics and vice versa. But Peter and I are not in charge of the comics, just all film DC entertainment. You know, what's that to mean is very open communication. They'll have some meetings. They'll discuss what they're doing. If anything really embarrasses DC Studios that comes out in the comics, that I'm sure will be stopped. So I think there's going to be a little bit more care and attention put into what they're doing with comics. But I don't expect there to be something where James Gunn is going to be meeting with their editorial team and planning out what to do with the DC universe in comics over the next year or two. That's not going to be happening. Interestingly, they are going to be coordinating their games releases. And this is something that would be much harder for Marvel to do because Marvel is so large. There are so many things going on with Marvel's film slate, with their TV shows. It would be much more difficult to coordinate all of the games with Marvel. But because DC has the advantage of, well, we're rebooting everything. Yes, we have a 10-year plan. Yes, we want to make a lot of projects, but they're not going to be making anywhere near the number of films, TV shows, and games that Marvel is making. So they have the advantage of keeping it tight, keeping it smaller, and they can coordinate storylines with video games and insert those stories inside of the larger continuity for the films and the TV shows. So they have an opportunity to do something really powerful with continuity. They can't incorporate it into the comics, unfortunately. That's too much and would take way too much work, and the whole thing would probably fall apart. So they're just leaving the comics off to the side. Eventually, will they go back and look at the comics again? Possibly, but realistically, probably not for 5 years at least, because there's just too much work to do with creating continuity, good stories, incorporating all the production, incorporating all the talent. Okay, this is coming from Eurogamer. Future DC video games at Warner Brothers will be part of a larger connected universe, says James Gunn, not a Justice League of their own. Following his appointment as co-chairman and co-CEO of DC Studios alongside Peter Safran. Filmmaker James Gunn has confirmed that future DC video games will indeed be part of a larger connected universe. In a back and forth on Twitter, Gunn stated, quote, DCU will be connected across film and TV and animation. That's a big deal. That's a lot of work. You imagine like the animation episodes, there's going to be a lot of figuring out coordination for all that. When asked further if the statement would also include games, Gunn replied with a clear and simple yes. The news is not surprising. Earlier reports revealed that Warner Bros. Discovery head David Zaslav had spoken to the wider company about plans to build a Bible for a cohesive DC universe that would include media such as live action films, TV, animation, gaming, and more. Although when he said more, some of us were hoping maybe he meant comics. He did not mean comics. However, this tweet from Gunn is the first definitive and public proclamation about DCU's video game future. He said here, most definitely the DCU will be connected across film and TV and animation. And then someone named Robbie asked are there plans for games to be connected to the DCU as well, Mr. Gunn? And Mr. Gunn said yes. While future games under the DC umbrella will be part of a larger connected universe, this is not the case for more imminent releases such as Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Rather, in this case, this game is part of the Batman Arkham universe. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Do you like the idea of them connecting the continuity? I mean, obviously you understand if they have some short-term releases that are coming out in the next couple of months, they can't be part of this overall 10-year plan because they haven't even really finished and had all approved all of the plan yet. But do you like the idea of the continuity between the games? I think it's great if it's something they can do. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you think it's a good idea that all this continuity is connected? I'm a big fan of continuity, but what do you think? Please be sure you are leaving me comments about that and be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, Superman and I will miss you.